Coming to you from deep in the heart of Texas, this is Punk Brats, a podcast focused on the lives and experiences of our military brats. We didn't serve, we got served. Now here are your Punk Brats, Rose and Lisa.
Hey, it's Rose.
And this is Lisa. Welcome to another episode of Punk Brats.
This episode of Punk Brats is brought to you by Caitlin Adams, one-stop realtor for all your Texas real estate needs. Whether you're buying, selling, or renting, give Caitlin a text or a call at 512-550-9333. Thanks, Caitlin.
Yes, thank you. And anybody who wants to advertise on our podcast or website, go to www.punkbrats.com for more information. Well, here we are, Rose, our third episode.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
It's crazy.
It is. Are we going to say this every single time?
I know we sound like this. We're saying the same thing, right? The same banter over and over.
No,
but
not
no,
that.
Really,
just
this
that.
Is,
no, but because for real, I am surprised. It's like, it's like, can you believe it's our third episode? Yes, I'm still going through that phase. Doing it. So
no, it's fun. It's fun. And we're getting phone calls on our phone line. Please call us at 512-254-5989. We want to hear from brats all around the world. So no matter where you are, call us and share that 2-minute story with us. And it just might make it on an episode.
And even friends of brats too. They get to call in as well.
Yeah, of course. You don't have to be a brat to call in. It's September. A lot happening.
I was just sitting here thinking about you going to Europe pretty soon. You're bringing your brat life full circle and traveling to Europe with Monkey Boo.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more next month. But yes, heads up in October, Chris and I are going to Germany, and I'm going to go see all my friends from the International School of Dusseldorf. I'm looking so forward to, oh my gosh, I haven't seen them since I was 18.
Gosh,
and so
jealous.
for some of them, I'm really excited.
Have some serious FOMO.
I'm going to be in Amsterdam for Halloween. I'm looking forward to it. Going to eat some good broodchen with Käse. Oh my gosh. I'm just going to stuff my face and drink a lot of beer.
I just think about pommes frites.
Pommes frites. Yes. Food.
The best. Oh my goodness.
One thing great about being a military brat and getting to live overseas is we do get to experience some pretty cool food experiences. Mm-hmm. Did I say experience twice? But anyway, we've had really cool times with food. I remember one time Rose and I went to a Japanese kids weekend camp thingy, and they gave us sushi all weekend, and I don't eat that. So I got to eat all of Rose's rice and she ate all my sushi. It worked out.
It was pure heaven for me. But you know what? That's crazy because speaking of food and Japan, I have a segue. What? That was the perfect segue.
Oh,
can I tell the story about the Japanese cantaloupe? The Japanese cantaloupe story, please?
That's a great one. Please do.
Okay.
That is funny.
So we had just arrived in Japan where we were staying in temporary housing at Camp Zama. And my mom feeling really sorry for us because we were all stuck in this cramped, I guess, hotel room, or I don't even remember what it's called. But anyway, she took us off base. We went wandering and she took us off base and we somehow ended up in a Japanese grocery store. Anyway, she let us each pick out fruit. Do you remember that? I picked out mandarin oranges.
You picked out a
cantaloupe. Well, apparently cantaloupes were not in season. So when we went to pay, my mom was trying to figure out the price by converting the dollar amount from yen in her head real quick. But she didn't want to hold up the line. So she basically just emptied out her wallet to pay for our groceries. And when we arrived home, she realized that she just paid $12 for a cantaloupe. $12. So keep in mind, this is the early 80s, but if you think about it, that's still really expensive by today's standards, right? $12.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But that's not even the crazy part of the story. The irony is that she would dole out the cantaloupe little by little every day to kind of stretch it out over time because she had spent so much money on it. And it ended up spoiling in our refrigerator. She was so mad at herself.
The story, right?
Yeah. And I love it when she tells this cantaloupe story because she gets so animated and it just gets funnier every time she tells it. Anyway, I hope you got to enjoy the cantaloupe because
it's my favorite fruit, but Rose hates it.
I hate melons.
I could eat it all day.
Not a fan.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to food. I mean, I am a picky eater. We're half Korean and I don't eat seafood. It's kind of weird. But it makes me a cheap date because I never order the lobster. Isn't there like a certain month or something that you can only eat that stuff, like lobster?
No, actually, I think you're talking about oysters. Yeah. And if I remember right, you can only eat oysters in months that contain the letter R, which means September through April.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. That's a fact I didn't know.
It's just some sort of trivial knowledge that I had. I think
so. Only eat oysters in the months that end in R.
Yep, September through April.
So and we're in September. Oh, we can eat it now.
So September is a pretty cool month, if you think about it, because it's like a transitional month because the seasons change. We're going to have fall.
Yeah.
However, here in Texas, it's really hot. So it's not going to feel like fall, but it will be fall.
And September is the kickoff of football season.
Football season. That's true. Go Giants. And also,
you plugged that before I could say my Cowboys, but go ahead.
The Air Force and the Air National Guard's birthday is celebrated.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And Patriots Day, September 11th.
Yes.
We also recognize National Prisoner of War Missing in Action, also known as POWMIA Day, and Gold Star Mother's Day. But one of the other cool things about September is that it's National Service Dog Day. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's cool.
Day. They actually get the whole month. September is National Service Dog Month.
Well deserved.
Yeah. So I guess for this episode of Punk Brats, did you know I chose to highlight the amazing dogs because they
what a great choice.
Yeah, they help out Americans veterans with mobile and mental disabilities, and they help to restore their physical and emotional independence, which I think is really, really awesome. So I would really highly encourage our listeners to go online and research organizations that train service dogs and maybe, I don't know, consider sponsoring a dog. That might be something. Cool.
So you can sponsor them, huh? You can
So I went to a few different websites and I was like, this is something that should really be highlighted because you don't really ever think about them, but man, those dogs are heroes.
Yes, they are. They're very special. All canine, the police canine dogs, all dogs that are in service protecting. Yeah. I mean, they're amazing. Well, that's great. Thanks.
Cool.
That's a great update. Mm-hmm. So if I could have a service dog or type of dog, I would want a Belgian Malinois.
That would be
Am I saying that right? No. I don't even know if I'm saying that right.
Before I forget, while I was doing my research about the service dogs, there is also an organization that is looking for people to adopt retired service dogs, military service dogs, once they retire from service. So you can have a fully trained dog if you wanted. But yeah, go and look that up. It's really cool.
Thanks for sharing that. Wow. Well, you did your Did You Know? And, I like to also keep us updated with Brats in the news. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's not just about a brat, but it can be about an organization that specializes in supporting military families. And I last month shared about Operation Homefront and their Military Child of the Year Award. There's another wonderful organization out there called Our Military Kids. They're a national 501c3 nonprofit, and they actually offer extracurricular activity grants for ages 3 to 18. But these kids are kids of deployed National Guard, deployed reserve, or post 9/11 combat wounded, ill or injured veterans in treatment. So recently, they awarded a young girl an award, a grant award for piano lessons. Her father was injured. He's in the Army National Guard and was injured in 2017. And so she is a recipient of the most recent award. And it just makes me so happy because here's an injured veteran. Mm-hmm. And the last thing, the stress of everything he's going through, he just wants to see his children, right? Be happy, go to school, do the things that they do. And so this organization helps to alleviate the stress of paying for if they want to be in soccer or do anything that's outside of school.
That's
it's an extracurricular activity grant.
Yeah. I love that.
So they are militarykids.org, a wonderful, wonderful organization. And I just appreciate that there are nonprofits out there looking out for the families too.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm glad to hear that.
That's my Brats in the news. Oh, and by the way, it's funded by the PGA Golf. I'm not a big golfer, but whatever this PGA golf thing is, most recently, Taylor Montgomery he won. And so they have this thing where they take a percentage of the wins and donate it to this program. And so he donated $75,000 through the RSM Birdies for Love. They spell for FORE. So I guess that's a golf term.
Yeah.
And so thank you, Taylor Montgomery, for supporting the military brats.
Awesome.
Thank you. Well, I guess it's time to introduce our guest, right?
Yeah, I'm excited about introducing our next guest, Sage Scott. She grew up all over the United States and Europe, and she writes a travel blog with a midlife traveler's perspective from America's heartland. I got that off her website, but I thought it was catchy and cool, so I wanted to include that.
Yeah, I checked out her website, and she's, oh my gosh, 30 countries and 50 states.
Yeah.
Can't even imagine.
Really cool.
I'm looking forward to hearing her story as well. And ready to bring her out?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Welcome, Sage Scott.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
Hi, Sage. This is Rose.
Hey, Rose.
So how's the weather right now in Kansas?
We are under this massive heat dome. I think it's probably because I was just telling all my family that was visiting that we've had such a lovely summer with no super hot days. So now we've been paid back with a week of 100 plus super humid, ugly, ugly weather.
Well, we can't say the same. We didn't have that nice weather before the hot weather. It's just been hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about it with our last guest last month because it was dreadful. And it's still dreadful, you know. It's Austin, it's Texas, Central Texas. You just never know what you're going to get. But I know y'all can't see Sage, which I love your name. I love to garden, and I love herbs. And one of my strongest growing herbs is my sage. And I always tell my sister I love her name Rose because Rose always represents such a strong flower. Like in my garden, I'm a big gardener and vegetable gardener, and my roses always may be, you know, they go away, but then they always come back. No matter what. And my sage is the same way. And so y'all both represent such strong flowers. And I just love that. Okay.
That's awesome.
Moving on. Just had to throw that out there. Yeah. So welcome to Punk Brats. You tell us a little bit about your background and your brat.
Yeah. I'm quite the brat. I counted with my mom a few months ago how many times we'd moved in the 18 years I lived with them. And I think it was 14. So, that's what goes with being the oldest in your family versus my baby sister that's 10 years younger. And, she joined the chaos when it was the 3-year stints, not the moving twice in one school year kind of stints that I had. So yeah, my first earliest memory is Fort Huachuca in the Tucson area of Arizona. That's my where my middle sister joined us. That's how I always know it's kind of my first memory is the day they told me my sister was born. And then our first tour overseas was to Germany, where I believe both of you gals had spent some time in your brat growing up, your brat childhood. So we lived in Schweinfurt and Kitzingen. And then we came back to the US and lived in St. Louis. Then it was back to Europe where we lived at Afcent, which is now, I believe, called Af North because of all the base consolidation. But that was in Brunsum, the Netherlands, which is in the very southern part. So we lived in Maastricht, which is this little tiny piece that is kind of nestled between Belgium and Germany and the Netherlands. So my sister and I would just get on our bikes and, we could ride across the border and it was pretty cool. Then we moved to California and then the Washington, D.C. area, which was the third time we lived in the D.C. area. Which means I forgot one of them between Germany and St. Louis. We lived in Maryland for a little bit, but yeah.
You lose track, right? Like most brides.
But I don't know if you guys are like me. Like as you get to be, let's say I'm flirting with the varsity team of life in my age, do you use where you lived as a reference point? Like that's what my sister and I always do. And I feel sorry for these people that spent their whole lives in one spot. Like how do you remember what was second grade versus fourth grade, right?
Yeah, I absolutely do that. Well, I was just saying, like, I use where I've lived, I've used songs, because then you can remember what you were doing when that song came out or just where you lived. Oh, I was doing this at that time. And I was, running around on these streets or doing this with these friends. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah. Reference points, like Rose said.
So with you living all those places, and, one of the things I like to ask all our guests is, how do you feel when someone asks you, where are you from?
Oh,
what do you say?
My sister has a much more clever answer, but mine is, I'm an Army brat. I lived everywhere. Short and sweet. Yeah. She's way more eloquent, has a way better answer, but that's mine.
Yeah. Our last guest said, and if somebody, like, he checks to see who's asking him, like whoever it is asking him, he knows how to gauge that answer that way, And so I'm like, wow, I'm going to use that tip. So I guess it depends from now on who asks me if they want to hear my story or not.
Yeah. But I mean, that's know your audience. That's good advice. But I have to ask you guys this. So I'm a USAA member. I've been one since I was little. I only have 7 digits instead of 8 in my, in my account. But like, thank goodness for them, because any other banking institution, they ask you all these hard questions. You're like, I don't know. Your, childhood home, it doesn't exist. It's 14 different places. Like,
exactly.
Street you grew up on. Which one? Like,
that's what I was going to use as an example. It's like street you grew up on. Okay. Or elementary school.
Yes.
Like, which one you can pick 4.
Yeah.
I'm a member of USAA also. And and my husband, I'm married to a military brat. He's moved 12 times in his lifetime. And he just always knew that dreaded look when his father came home, and he's like, son, Chris knew, okay, I'll go get the suitcase. Well, speaking of that, how do you balance family life and traveling? Like, you're a blogger, you're a world traveler, and you have 4 kids.
I do.
And how do you balance that to do the things that you love, but yet still do what you do?
I think it's really varied over the years. So my oldest, I'm going to divulge my age. My oldest are 25. They just turned 25 last month. My twins, because I know one of you is a fellow twin mom.
I'm a twin mom.
Yeah, there we go. And it, it was much different when I had, 2 3-year-olds and a 2-year-old. And I wanted to travel versus now that my 3 bigs, as I call them, are off in their adult life, and I just have 1 kiddo left at home. So it really has evolved over the 25 years that I've been a mom. But I remember thinking when the twins were born, I can't wait to be a mom, but I'm not going to be one of those moms that can't do anything because I'm a mom. I remember. One of my coworkers, he and his wife had a baby. The mom was a stay-at-home mom, and it was like she had to wait for her husband to come home to go to the grocery store with like 1 kid. I was like,
wow.
That's just no, like that's just not going to work. So when I had 3 little toddlers, when I had 3 that were, young elementary school kiddos, I was in a position where I could, travel with them like a couple weeks at a time, long road trip. The good thing about being a military brat with family and friends everywhere, you've got lots of places to stay. We would do what I called big adventure. We would just pick a part of the country. Everybody would talk about 1 or 2 things that they really, really, really wanted to do. And we would just plan this, really amazing 2 to 3, week road trip. I could work from the road, like we could see stuff. We did that quite a while. It gets harder as they get a little bit older to take them out of school. Yeah. But, that was one way I balanced motherhood and travel when they were little. All 3 of my bigs have had an opportunity for just an amazing summer in Europe. My son went with me for an extended business trip. My mom, who's a retired teacher, came along. So it was fun, but it was educational. His twin got to go as part of a touring choir group. My middle daughter got to, I call it her summer of her German fairy godmothers. She got to spend the whole summer just visiting our former au pairs, exchange student friend of mine in Belgium. So that was her experience. Yeah. And my youngest knows that she's owed one. And now that they're all grown up.
Do you see how your military heritage now crosses over into their lives because of you loving your childhood? you're now taking them overseas to see the things that you'd love to do. Do you think you'd be this way if you weren't a military brat? I mean, if people don't know what they're missing, they don't go and see it. You know what I mean? And so like next month, Chris and I are going to Europe to go visit all our friends. And I'm just so excited because I get to take him to see where I grew up and where Rose and I grew up and went to high school. But you know what I mean? Like, I just wonder if we would have these interests if we weren't military brats.
Who knows what would have been?
Yeah,
but I will say that as a mom, I've wanted to make sure my kids know the world is so much bigger, so much more amazing than Johnson County, the little bubble they live in Kansas City. Yeah. But I did want to also give them something I always longed a tiny bit for, which is those deep roots. So, they've all grown up in, the same community. Like they've moved houses twice. Two of them have moved houses twice. Everybody else is like grown up in the same house. But, now that they're adults, they've chosen to take that wanderlust, to take that curiosity and travel. My twins both live in Washington State now. My daughter spent a year and a half living in Southeast Asia, in Vietnam and Thailand. She just moved over there by herself and just found a job at they've got that sort of curiosity about the world. And I feel like that was really what I was striving is Midwestern values, one place to call home, but know that the world is bigger than this bubble. And there are lots of ways to do life, lots of things to experience, and go do that. So.
Yeah, I totally get that. My husband, he grew up in a suburb outside of Detroit. And, he still keeps in touch with people that he's known since he was in elementary school. And that is just like, for me, sometimes that's just mind blowing. And sometimes I long for that, like you said, with the deep roots. But then I think back and look at, my upbringing and all the places we've been to and traveled and moved. And, wow, I just think it's so exciting too. It's like, gosh, to have the best of both worlds. And I think that's really cool.
And we have our friends still. They're just little short friends. Like Scott. Did you know Scott only lived in Germany for 1 year, but 1 year made the difference. And look, almost 40 years later, we're still all best friends. So
I love it. I do feel that, I know I am. I think y'all can relate to this, that, I remember life before the internet and I remember life before Facebook. Right. And I do feel that some of those tools have helped brats kind of fill in the blanks, right? I can't take my children to a house I grew up in because it doesn't exist. Like we rented or, most of them were rentals. So we don't own that house. There's no place like, hey, this is where whatever. Yeah, but I can pull it up on Google Maps now and I can do Street View and I can say, here's where it was. Or if my sister and I are talking about so-and-so from high school, or remember that one, girl you were friends with and whatever, we can get on Facebook and maybe reconnect with them. And I think that's made it a whole lot easier maybe to kind of have the best of both worlds, or to kind of just, we don't necessarily have to go to our graves wondering what if. Like we can easily reconnect with people and share some of that.
Right. Social media has really opened up that. And also all the, I don't really want to call them support groups, but what are the, like Brats Without Borders, the Facebook groups that you can come together and you see that there's just
overseas brats.
Yeah. Overseas brats. I mean, just all of those where you're like, wow, these people have similar stories to me. And, wow, I'm not just the only one. It's not just me and my sisters who experienced this. That's really cool. And I'm so glad that we do have the internet for that, and also connecting with old friends and places. I love the Google Earth though. I haven't done that, but the first thing I'm going to do after we get off this interview is I'm going to go do some Google Earth of some places that I've lived. I think that's really cool.
Well, it might be interesting. I don't know about the base you guys were associated with in Germany, but one of the two we lived in, with a lot of consolidating of bases, with a lot of the American military moving out, one of the places we lived is now these really cool, just very German styled, modern, fresh apartments. And so that was really fascinating to go find it, to be like, oh yeah, I remember that across the way was this vineyard. And when I was supposed to be taking a nap, I was always watching them pick grapes. And, you could go and see, like, that is really cool to see how time evolves and to kind of take your memories with the current and see how things have changed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's
I'm
really
so looking
cool.
forward to seeing all that. I want to see the cobblestones. I told Chris, I'm so excited about seeing cobblestone roads.
Yeah.
So, Sage, one thing I wanted to talk about is because you have all these beautiful pictures on your blog, on your website. And I was just curious, like, what model or brand of camera you use, or, is photography a hobby? Is it something that you do for fun? Is it part of your work? I just love the photographs on your blog.
You're so sweet. You're so sweet.
Beautiful.
So the type of camera I use, I have a Canon, and it is a hand-me-down from my very, very successful, no kids, so much more disposable income youngest sister, who is, I will tell you, she is a phenomenal photographer. Okay. She's an engineer, she's a techie, and she is amazing. So I am so lucky to have her, air quotes, sloppy seconds.
You guys sound really close as sisters.
Hmm.
Yeah, but
you guys sound close. So.
That's just how military families are, right? Yeah. They either are really tight or they fall apart. So,
right.
So she's a photographer too?
She will call herself an amateur photographer, but she's so talented, and she upgraded all of her equipment, and I got all of her cameras and her lenses. Nice. And she gave that to me after I started a 365 project a couple of years ago. I think it was when maybe my twins went into high school. So it's been more than a couple of years now, but I think, I was realizing how fast time life goes by. I was thinking about how quickly they were going to be out of, the house, and I would have more time to myself. And I decided there was no time like the present to get more into photography, because I'd always been interested. So I started a 365 project, which is you commit to something every day for a year. And it was a technique that Jerry Seinfeld did. So he's got a big old fashioned wall calendar, and every day he writes a joke and he puts a big X through it. And some are good and some aren't. Some of my pictures are good, some aren't. And that's actually what got me into travel blogging. Is I was taking a picture, posting a picture every day, and I wanted to be able to tell more about the things I was experiencing, the recommendations I had. And so the photography is what led to the blog. And yeah.
So cool that you did that.
Yeah. And I love your blog. And I what I really love about your blog and your website is how everything is so diverse. I mean, you give travel tips, you have recipes on there.
Yes.
You have things to do that are off the beaten path. Like, I go to different websites, like when I'm about to travel somewhere, and I look and see, but especially one of the things I wanted to bring up is that you have an article on there, the 11 best museums in LA if you aren't an art lover. And that immediately captured my eye, because, I moved to Texas from Los Angeles. So I was, scrolling through there, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so, I love these places. And I'm at La Brea Tar Pits, the Peterson Automotive Museum. My favorite, though, is LACMA, the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. And I don't know if you had a chance to see Rodin's the severed head of John the Baptist. Have you seen that?
I know that
sounds heavy and deep.
Yeah. That well, it's really cool. It's like one of the coolest pieces. I haven't thought about it in a long time, but when I was going through, through that article, and I saw that museum, and I was like, oh, and then it just kind of took me back to like thinking about, like you said, different parts of your life. And, you read that, and then I associate that with the time that I had lived in Los Angeles. And, I don't know. It's just an absolutely stunning piece of art. It's just John the Baptist head. It's like, I think it's carved. Maybe, is it in marble? I'm not sure. Some sort of stone, and it's just on its side, and it just, it's just there. And I just know, I was like, wow, yeah, that is a really cool piece. And I could just see people who are not into art being able to relate and go there and see it.
I was flipping through your website. Oh, go ahead. I was going to say, I was flipping through your website too, and I wanted to back Rose up on that you have some really cool articles on there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
I was just, going to do I was doing my research, like we do on all our guests. And then I found myself 2 hours later deep diving. And it's like one thing led to another. And I'm looking at this and then, I'm bookmarking recipes. I think I came across a spinach mushroom recipe, maybe.
So were you going to say something, wow, Sage, about
the art,
John the Baptist?
It just cracks me up that you picked that in particular because I am the daughter of an artist and the mother of an artist. My oldest daughter is an artist, and living in Europe as the daughter of an artist, I was dragged to every single art museum that you've ever heard of, that you've never heard of. And my mom doesn't stroll through and be like, cool, stop at one picture. She will stop and study every picture for a good 5-10 minutes, read every word on the card. So
because that's why she's there. I mean, right, to take it all in and absorb all that in.
Absolutely. Nice. And she's an amazing artist, and I am just the conduit that transfers that talent from one generation to another. So I actually have an article about how to help your kids appreciate art. And one of the things I cover is my jam is not the gory stuff. So it's pretty funny that you brought up the severed head of John the Baptist.
Well, that's cool. And we have another thing in common other than the twins. Is that I'm married to an artist.
Oh, fun.
Yes.
Very
my
fun.
husband is a storyboard artist and illustrator. And so, before we had kids and we had a little more disposable time, we went to art museums and did, all genres of art museums and, lowbrow, highbrow, all of them. Really cool. Really cool.
I was going to say, you guys have way too much in common. You both have flowers for names.
I'm just like, whoa.
You got twins. your family are artists, Okay. So is there anything else? You're both military brats. Hey, there you go. Hey, so speaking of traveling, you guys being twin moms, all that, what's one of the most unique places that you've visited stateside that you feel like you're not in America? What's the one place you visited stateside that you really feel you are not in America?
Oh, gosh.
Because we live next to New Braunfels, which is a German town, but I still feel like I'm in Texas. Okay. Do you know a place that you've been that you're like, holy cow, is this America?
This isn't probably the best example. This isn't really a real answer, but it's the first thing that came to mind. And anybody from this area might roll their eyes. But I remember the first time I visited the old market area of Omaha, Nebraska. And I remember thinking, these couple of blocks, right off the river, I remember thinking, wow, this feels a little bit like Europe, only everyone is speaking English and there's a lot of pickup trucks. But there's just kind of a feel that feels a touch European. But
love it.
But you're still in the U.S. You still feel like you're in the U.S. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. I'm in my head going West Coast, East Coast.
Yeah. I asked a friend that question one time. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry, Lisa. I was just saying I had that experience in Los Angeles, like Olvera Street in Los Angeles. I went the first time I went there. I was like, wow, this is
what is it? Olvera?
Cool. Olvera Street in Los Angeles.
Okay.
It's, I think it's Mexican. I think it's mostly Mexican, kind of like a little Mexico. But I mean, just the vibe and the street tacos and the art, everything was just so amazing. And we went there once on the Day of the Dead. We spent Dia de los Muertos. I'm going to butcher that. Sorry. I'm embarrassed, living here in Central Texas. Dia de los Muertos. And it was just really, really cool. And I felt like, wow, I felt like I had traveled somewhere when really, literally, I was 20 minutes from my house, and I was like,
I was talking to a friend from Pennsylvania who moved here to Texas, and she finally got her parents to move here too. And, but I remember her telling me there were parts of Pennsylvania where the Amish communities, she just felt like she was out of oh my gosh, this is not America. Like the buggies, the horse buggies, and the shops and the markets. They have markets and stuff. They sell, I guess, the fruit stand, or what do you want to call that? A farmer's market.
Yeah.
The Amish communities. But my sister, Chris and I happened to be in California visiting when she was like, we want to buy a house. Come tell us what you think about it. So Chris and I went, and they were buying it from an Amish couple. And just being in their home, I felt like I was not in America. Like I felt like I was in the middle of Holland, like some European, maybe Holland. Yeah.
But, I think about we have Amish communities north of here in Iowa. We've got, there's Chinatown in San Francisco. I had a similar last year experience on Dia de los Muertos here in Kansas City. So yes, I feel like there are different experiences like that to have, but I always still feel like I'm in the US. And I guess I would chalk it up more to just the melting pot that makes America what it is. Than I truly feel like, I feel like I'm in Colombia, or I feel like I'm in, Europe, or I feel like I'm some of the other places I've been.
Rose and I are half Korean. So there are parts of LA where I feel like in Koreatown, I am in Korea.
Oh gosh, for sure. In Koreatown, that's where our grandmother lived.
Yeah. I mean, and our family's still in LA, our sister's in Irvine, but so like, I was just curious because I know you've traveled to all 50 states.
Yeah.
You've traveled to 30 countries.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about right. I mean, it's been a lot. I tend not to count.
What's coming up?
Oh, well, this is my youngest child's senior year, and she's a tennis player, and the season is just now starting. So I am grounded until we get through that. So the next trip is not that sexy. It's just Thanksgiving in Phoenix with my sister and my whole family.
Hey, that's getting away.
Year. But yeah, it's not a new place yet. And I'm hopeful that, by this time next year, when she's all tucked in at college, wherever she opts for, I am going to have a heck of a lot of time to experience and explore. And
But knowing you, Sage, I feel like you're going to take that camera and you're going to turn Phoenix upside down. And you're going to take some really cool, groovy pictures that we're going to get to check out real soon.
Oh, yeah. Right? That happens everywhere I go. Yeah.
So anyway, wow. So, I mean, it's just so exciting that you get to travel and do all these exciting things. I am jealous. But now that my husband and I are in a position where we can travel and we're starting, like I said, we're going to Europe next month. I'm excited. So I definitely have your blog bookmark, sagescott.com. And what is your Instagram profile?
It's sagescott.kc. I think that's right. There's a link to it.
Well,
just
go
in
to
case
your
I
website.
Get it wrong.
Hey, listeners, go to sagescott.com. And if you want to say hello to her, it's hello@sagescott.com. So Rose, we always like to wrap up our interviews with where we catch our guests off guard and do lightning round. And guess what? It's time.
Yay. This is my favorite part of the show, actually. So it's cool. And I'm glad I get to ask these questions. So
is one of them going to stump me more than the Europe and the America? That was already hard.
No. It's just whatever comes off the top of your head. And this is just to get to know you a little better. Okay. So question number 1, if you could learn any language in a week, what would it be?
Spanish.
Okay. Number 2, what is your favorite adult beverage?
Wine, red wine.
Okay, great. Me too. So number 3, road trip or cruise?
Road trip.
And next question. So a place that you would like to visit that you've never visited before?
Ooh, gosh, that's a long list, girlfriend. I think Japan would be pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Great. Okay. Eiffel Tower or Seattle Space Needle?
Been to both multiple times. I'm torn because, Le Tour Eiffel is Paris, hello, but my daughter lives awfully darn close to the Space Needle, and if I'm there, I'll probably see her. Paris is always a good idea. Eiffel Tower.
Paris always wins. Okay, your favorite outdoor activity?
Oh, going on a long, long walk with my camera on a beautiful day.
Perfect. Do you Instagram your food?
Sometimes.
Okay. And the last song you listened to?
Oh, I haven't had music on today, but it was probably something by Prince.
Okay. Oh, nice. Okay. Can you tell us about a historical figure you'd love to meet?
Oh, do they have to still be alive?
No, they could be
good.
Alive.
Perfect. Easy answer. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. What a legend. Yeah.
How cool. Okay, so this final question was a little bit controversial with our first guest. If you guys remember, was Scott Parks, KMBZ 98.1 radio host. But I'm going to ask it to you anyway. Okay. Kansas City barbecue or Texas barbecue?
I almost interrupted to say, are you asking me a barbecue question? Yeah. So clearly, hands down, it's Kansas City, but I will tell you that Texas comes in second place because I will definitely eat, Texas barbecue over like, do not love the chopped vinegary. No, like it's either Kansas City or Texas for this girl.
Okay. Oh,
hands down, Kansas City. Sorry, Texas
I could eat some barbecue right now for sure. You guys, we could chat about barbecue all day, but unfortunately, again, as I say in all of our interviews, all good things must come to an end. Sage, Scott, thank you so much for joining the Punk Brats today and sharing your military heritage and your stories with us. We always like to give you, our guests, an opportunity to plug something that's going to be happening. But is there anything that you'd like to share with our brats out there, or other than your website, sagescott.com?
Oh my gosh, you did such a good job plugging it for me. I don't really have anything to add other than, would love it if anyone stops by to, drop me an email, let me know what you think. Tell me about your brat heritage. And thank you guys so much for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Absolutely.
You're very welcome.
It was a pleasure.
And you know what? Rose and I, we never say, as brats, we never say goodbye. We were explaining this in all of our episodes. Rose, what do we say?
We say, see you later.
See you later, Sage. We appreciate you.
See you later. Take care.
See you later. Wow, what a great interview with Sage.
Yeah, that was fun.
Another Kansas City. And that is a weird coincidence that she just happens to be from Kansas City and Scott was from Kansas City. But y'all had so much in common. It gave me the creeps.
Yeah, that was a little weird. But you know what? Being military brats, that's the thing that's unique about being a military brat is that we do have so many things in common with other people.
But twin moms, artists.
Okay, yeah, you're right. That
boy girl twins.
that was weird.
Military brats. Rose, Sage, like.
Yeah.
But it was a great interview. Thank you, Sage Scott. Y'all visit her website again, sagescott.com.
Yes. And we would like to
say goodbye.
Once again, let you know that this episode was brought to you by Caitlin Adams, one-stop realtor for all your Texas real estate needs. Whether you're buying, selling, or renting, please give Caitlin a call or text at 512-550-9333.
And if you want to reach the Punk Brats, Rose and Lisa, you can email us at info@punkbrats.com. Please give us a call if you're a brat or a friend of a brat around the world. If you have a question, the number is 512-254-5989. Our website is www.punkbrats.com. And our Instagram page is punkbratsusa. Follow us, reach out, say hey. But right now, what do we say, Rose?
We say, see you later.
See you later.
Hi, this is Michelle from Dallas. Being a military brat for me is something that's unique and a special experience from my childhood. It has given me lifelong friends. It's also given me my fondest memories from my childhood. My dad was stationed in Camp Zama, Japan in the mid-'80s. And so when I was there, I was 6th grade through my sophomore year in high school. There's a lot of things that I gained from living on base and running around with everyone else that was experiencing the trials and tribulations of moving every 3 to 4 years, having to form fast friends, knowing that your friends would move. So you just kind of knew that was the deal. From that, I gained a lot of independence. We had carte blanche of the base and off base, how to adapt quickly to any situation. It also motivated me to have stability in what my future might be. And then it also helped me learn how to build relationships with people. Some of my best friends come from that period of my life, from when I was 12 years old. And I'm very fortunate to still have them in my life now. And we're basically the same dorky people from 6th grade. I'm just very, very grateful to have them in my life. And I think once you're a military brat, everyone also understands what your experience is. Thanks.